All right, we're recording. Welcome, 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 paradigm shifters. Whoop! We're so grateful to have you join us this December 8th, 2020. Wow, let's take a deep breath into this day, into this life that we've been given. And our purpose, paradigm shifters now, as of this morning, and they keep coming in, we have 519 members from 9 countries in all of the United States. And it was an idea, a divine idea, boom, that popped in September. And I thought maybe a couple people from Leander around Rock would join. And then we realized that we are in a global shift. So these are global shifters, uplifters. And you know, my name's Judy Matejcik. I'm a speaker, teacher, coach, and opening up my speaking calendar for 2021 as well as quite a few people on here. So today we are focusing on our kids and our parents and our teachers. Yeah, and before we get going, before I introduce our 2 guest speakers, do you believe it? We're having 2 this week. Yay! I want to show you something that I found that gave me so much hope. I wanted to share my screen here. Can you all see that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, and this, I'm going to read to you the article that went with this. All right. What's that look like to you? Typical high school kids?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. All right, so let's take a deep breath in here. And if you have a pen or anything, jot down any kind of emotions that this might trigger in you or anything that comes up. This is a picture of a Texas high school in Texas, of course. It opened a grocery store for struggling families where good deeds are accepted as payment. A school in a small town in Texas has ignited hope across the community by opening up a student-led grocery store to support families in need. Linda Tuff High School in Sanger, S-A-N-G-R, launched the grocery store in November so students could purchase necessities, including toilet paper, meat, and basic food items. They pay for their purchases by earning points for good deeds. In our school district, there's roughly 2,750 students enrolled, and throughout the district, 43% of these students are considered economically disadvantaged. Anthony Love, the principal at Linda Tuff, told the reporter about 3.5% of our students are considered homeless. We thought it was important to support them and their families and make sure they had food on the table. The high school partnered with First Refuge Ministry, Texas Health Resources, and grocery store Albertsons to open the store, which is completely run by students who manage the inventory, stock the shelves, and help other students find and bag the products they need. Preston Westbrook, a junior at the high school, serves as one of the store managers. I love this school. I help out in everything we do, and I'm a helper. It's just what I do. I'm here to make sure students get what they need. The store helped bring family spirits up during the pandemic, especially for people who lost family members. The students who come in are just so happy. They always have a smile on their face. Students in the entire school district north of Dallas and their families can buy whatever they need using a number of points, which is initially set depending on the size of their family. After that, the students can earn more points for outstanding performance in school, doing good deeds, which teachers and staff can award points for, or completing jobs around school, such as helping out in the library are mentoring elementary school students. One thing we really push for is student earning points by going above and beyond in the classroom or doing something else. These are the things we celebrate, and we'll call home and tell mom and dad their student got a positive referral and they get a reward for that too. So the store is open Mondays and Wednesdays for students and employees in the school district, and 1 hour on Tuesday for the public. We are a small school district, but we always try to teach our kids the importance of giving back to the community. Now school districts all around Texas and the rest of the country are asking how they can start a program like ours, and it's really exciting for us to know our little town is spreading good. Isn't that cool? I just had to share that. It's like, let me see if I can get out of there we go. Whoops. I'm trying to figure out. Oh, here it is. Okay. So with that, I want to introduce our speakers today. And first of all, I want to introduce Tracy Nolin Beerman. Do you ever feel like life is coming at you? Like you're playing a perpetual game of whack-a-mole? Something comes up over here and you whack it down. And something comes up over there and you whack it down too. Before you know it, days, weeks, and sometimes years slip by in an overwhelming blur. Tracy's been there too, using her unique combination of experiences as a former teacher, a certified life mastery consultant, and over 25 years on the yoga mat. She helps busy moms create work-life harmony, regain control of their lives, and get their joy back. So Tracy has catch Tracy and her guests on this podcast that she has, Vision Driven Mom, where they believe anything is possible, even in the midst of motherhood. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you, Judy. It is delightful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, all right. Now I'm going to introduce Denise. All right. So it's really my pleasure also to introduce Denise Geiger. Now, Denise Geiger and I go way, way back. And she's the special ed transition coordinator for Leander ISD in Texas, Leander, Texas, since 1991. Is that right, Denise?
Right. So
oh my gosh.
Yes. Well, I taught the deaf and then transitioned in 1999.
Yes. Oh, that's right. That's right. And Denise is here to teach us some strategies that she's implemented with some students going through this transition. And I thought this was great because our students are going through transition and so are we. And one thing I know about Denise is she has this passion and never gives up, right? So with that, let's start with Tracy. I'm going to turn it over to Tracy and go for it.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'll tell you a little bit about how I got here and becoming a life mastery consultant and being in Paradigm Shifters today. When my son was about 3 years old, I noticed some concerning behavior, pessimism and negativity and self-loathing in a 3-year-old. Now that really got my attention. So my initial reaction was, there's something wrong with him. What's wrong with him? We got to figure out what's wrong with him. So, going to specialists and reading all the books. Not like I don't do that anyway. I'm a lifelong learner. And I didn't realize it then, but he was getting it from me. Okay, there was nothing wrong with him. He was getting it from me. You see, on the outside, I was his mom. I was happy. I was doing all the mom things. And on the inside, I was a hot mess. I had brought all kinds of baggage with me into motherhood from my childhood. This is what we do. I mean, when you become a mother, it's a spiritual journey. And so I brought all this baggage in with me from my childhood, and I hadn't fully recovered from the PTSD of his birth. He almost died when he was born. And so I got busy right? I read more books. Like I said, I'm a lifelong learner. My mother started feeding me books when I was in high school, like all kinds of personal development and all of that. So reading more books and taking courses, going to retreats and doing all of these things. I actually even did a 9-month yoga teacher training in the middle of, I've been on the yoga mat for almost 30 years, but all of these things. And then one day I just felt this nudge to go to a workshop. And Judy, it was a vision workshop. I went to this workshop and just everything lined up. My kids were real little at the time. And I met my coach, Susan,
Mhm.
and my life changed forever. Now, she taught me, well, I learned a lot about myself when I started working with her. And one of those things was that I had created this kind of like a Fort Knox around my heart, and that I wasn't even, I was doing all the mom things and happy and I love my kids, but I wasn't really letting anybody in. And I also learned how to live a vision driven life and moving toward what you want rather than pushing away from what you don't. And my life completely changed. So now I get to teach moms how to regain control of their lives, get their joy back, um, uh, create work-life harmony. I call it harmony, using my years as a former teacher, because I was also a teacher. My 5 years as a life mastery consultant, almost 30 years on the mat, and everything that I've learned on my journey. So that's what I get to do now. And I'll tell you how I know that that it was all worth it is one day. So my kids are, so this whole journey started when my son was 3. He's now 13. So
Wow.
it was a long journey, right? And now I get to compact it for moms, right? Compact it. They do not have to go through 10 years of pain or, all those years of pain. But one day my kids were still in elementary school and we were driving somewhere, and I overheard this conversation in the back seat of the car, and I heard one of them say, "Well, your heart is just black because you're just mean," and then the other one said, "Well, your heart is red and blue and with black spots on it because you're just annoying." And to stop that conversation in its tracks, I said, "Well, what color is my heart?" And my son, just like that, "Well, your heart is yellow and pink." And I said, "Oh, well, what does that mean?" And he said, "Yellow means kindness and pink means happiness." And that melted my pink and yellow heart, because he would not have said that back, when he was 3 years old. So everything that I had done, all the work, all the pain, the tears, I pulled everything out of the box, and you can't push it back in once you take it all back out. So now I get to, that's how I know that everything that I have done was worth the journey. And now I get to teach moms how to do it too. And it's a completely different way. And Judy, you know this. It's just when you learn this way of living, you will never go back. It's completely different and you're moving toward what you want. And Judy, let me know. I'm very
Oh, I
passionate.
know, I know.
I could talk forever. So you tell me when I.
Oh, I know, I know. I just love it, and I'm just I know I've recently reacquainted myself with you, and I got on your podcast, Vision Driven Mom.
Uh-huh.
You just tell us like a little bit, and then I'm going to hop over to Denise, but a little bit of like some of the tools that, like maybe one tool that you would what the most, whatever, a tool maybe that you could give to some of these other mothers out there who they're really struggling here in COVID.
They are.
They
They
were
are.
before anyway, but something that you've used during COVID with those teenagers, with that 13-year-old, as a mom, what have you used? What would you love?
Well, so I have lots of tools in my toolkit, but I'm going to share a quick little story with you about something that just recently happened. It was a realization about my daughter and school, right? I had the first, so we're doing virtual school, and it's been quite a challenge, and for all of us. And I realized that she was way behind. So I just realized this last week, way behind this quarter. And I realized so far behind, I started freaking out inside of myself and going, "Oh my God, she's not going to recover. This is not, she can't, this is not going to work. And so I had to go take myself out for a walk. I had to do a paradigm shift. I had to really turn my thoughts around and manage my mind around that and my energy. So that the managing my energy, I had to take myself outside and take a walk and be out in the fresh air, and then manage my mind and turn it around. So wait a minute, this is an opportunity to help my daughter, right? I had to turn it at just slight shifts. Wait a minute, this is not devastating. This is where we tend to go in our minds, is right to that negativity folder. I had to turn it around. And if you can take that moment to take a breath and respond instead of react, huge. We were able to, I was able to not come at it. You can't come at anything. Nothing good happens when you come from that energy of, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So if you're able to take a breath and just slight shifts, but what if, instead of going to the what if, the negative, what if we could turn this around? What if we could, what if we could come up with a plan? What if we could reach out and it could all work out? So it's turning it around. That is the one thing I think, because we're all together. So we are in virtual learning for the rest of the year, like the whole entire school year. So, all of our energy is all in here in this house. So I've got, my kids keep me honest. I've got to be in check. And that's the one thing, that if you can check your mind, check your energy, that would be the one thing, Judy. I think that is huge.
Well, great. I think you're going to really enjoy Denise.
I can't wait. I know. I think she's exactly who I need right now.
I can see that Denise is going like, yeah. And this is Denise's specialty. And I mean, we've been in, I know, at least 100 meetings together where we would be sitting in meetings with parents saying exactly that same thing. Right, Denise? You can unmute yourself. Yeah. And,
yes.
So I would always be there as the teacher, the one who would see what's going on in the classroom.
Right.
And the parent was sitting there, and then Denise in her magic would come in. Oh, yes, you are. Just own it, Denise. And she has this way of tying a bow around things. So Denise, go for it.
Okay, so thank you so much for that grand entrance. I'm not sure how I'm going to do, but I have been doing this piece of education in special education called Transition for 21 years. And then I taught the deaf for 12 years before that, elementary, middle school, high school. So where I come from is a place of hope, because I have worked with people with disabilities to get them to meaningful and viable and sustainable lives for my whole career. And I absolutely love it. It is my passion. It's my calling. I feel like God just has totally blessed me in this. And the district I work in has been amazing to let me grow this area to the point where I completely stand back in awe at some of the ways that we are impacting students' lives in such ways that there wouldn't have been if we hadn't had these systems in play. So what am I going to talk about? Well, I'm going to talk about the fact that we all have strengths, preferences, interests, and needs. And we have to remember that our children don't even know they have those as well. And that is what they call the cornerstone of good transition planning. So I wanted to share my screen because I want to show you a document. And I thought I had it up. There it is. And it looks just like this. So I'm going to move your pictures. And it is as simple as this: a spin worksheet for the adult, but you could turn this around and to do it for the child. Is that, do you really know your strengths? And can you name 5? I would assume so. You should probably be able to name at least 30 strengths. But I meet up with students even up to 8th grade who can only name 1 strength. And that bothers me, because anyone who's going to do anything in their lives needs to remember that they are full of strengths, full of God's gifts in their lives, and how are they going to manifest those? So they need to start somewhere. Well, I want to give you a story about my own son, my youngest. He's 19 now, but when he was 12, we were in the kitchen and I was busy doing something and I said, hey, name your strengths for me. So he started naming them and he kind of got caught up at number 8. And I said, oh, keep going. What about this? And he goes, oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. So he named 31 strengths as a 12-year-old. So my challenge to you is, have you ever done this for yourself? Have you done it for your children? The next thing that the government really, really pushes is that we better teach our children and ourselves what are preferences. And a preference for me is different from an interest in that a preference is something I would really like, but if it's not there, it's not going to alter the way that I'm doing something. But if I know it's there, then I'm going to be happier. So like I have a preference to not walk into my house and in the first 10 minutes get problems thrown at me. I really need some downtime. Another preference is I prefer not to wear these glasses, but I'm at the age that that's the only thing that's working for me at this point. So I am going to live with it. So I'm giving you those two because I may have a preference to not wear them, but I have to wear them. So I found a pair of glasses that are light on my face so that I can tolerate the feeling of glasses. But in our lives, our preferences actually drive a lot of the things that we aim ourselves toward. So I have a preference to be around people. I enjoy people. I want people in my life. So I'm going to put people in my life in whatever ways. In my house, I'm going to Zoom if I need to. I'm going to talk to my neighbor across the street in a socially distanced way. But I'm going to make sure that I continue to remember that people are important for me. Then we go down to interests. And I'm going to tell you, students have a hard time with even naming a preference. So we're going to have to help them figure out their preferences because in those preferences come our good self-advocacy skills. And in those good self-advocacy skills come so many other things. We start listening to them. We start hearing them. We don't tell them, oh, you like this. Well, why don't they tell us that they prefer to have you speak in a certain tone versus this other tone, or that they prefer to have to not do their homework in like by 3 o'clock, but they'd rather do it by 6 o'clock. Why not give them choices? The next thing that we function off of is interests. Our interests are things that we enjoy, things that we do in our free time, even things that you might do at work. So it's basically just helping differentiate between preferences and interests. My interests are going out to eat, seeing friends. Let's see, I like to read. So I could keep naming them. I like to go shopping. I like pedicures. There's lots of interests. And then our needs are absolutely there. Every one of us have needs. And it's very interesting to note that when you think you don't have a need, you're going to see it come right at you, steaming down that train track. So it's better to start looking toward your needs because in doing these 4 things, we found that, and I found it's one of the best ways to start with any good planning or a cornerstone of what you need to build off of. So again, I love the strengths one because I love to challenge people to see how many you can name. Preferences because most of us don't even think about that. And then our needs help drive like I absolutely need this. I have a lot of auditory distraction issues and I need to have quiet places to present in. I also at my house, and my husband's on the phone, my son's talking to his friends, and I'm watching a TV program, I get very frustrated. So either I remove myself from the situation or I turn off that TV program and just wait until they can get done. Or tell them, hey, dude, move out of the room. I'm watching this TV program. So it helps me with gentle assertiveness. And I found that in my personality temperament that I need to find ways to help people understand what my needs are. And that helps me grow. So this particular format we call it in Leander ISD, the spin. We just reorganize the letters, so that it's spelled a word, but the US government tells us this is best practice. So I hope that is a tool that you guys can immediately use from this talk, but I have another one. And
Yay!
yay, I'm hoping it came up too. Yay,
Well,
it
one of
did.
the things that we've used this for the meetings is that I would just like to interject, because in the meetings, the parents are sitting there, a teacher sitting there, and the student.
Right.
And there's so many times where the parents want to be speaking and you're really wanting to get it from the student. And, or a teacher will be just amazed that the student has those when she had her own agenda for
Yes.
the student. Anyway, go ahead. I just
So
like self
that definitely
advocacy.
feeds into this because student voice and the powerful nature of our own voices in our own lives, where people aren't talking over us, but allowing us to really, the adults have to step back and not talk so much. We need to find a way to help our students build and grow what is called self-determination. And I don't know if you guys know this terminology, but the researchers, this is what they use. And it's when we grow self-determined people, we grow the people who are going to be able to hold to their goals that they've had for themselves in life. Whether it's I'm going to hold a job for pay, part-time, full-time, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to have a happy family. You have to have some kind of self-determination within you in order for those things to happen. And they found that college juniors who had evidence of all of these self-determination skills were the ones that actually were doing well and moving forward in their college careers. And the ones that lack these skills were struggling and even thinking about dropping out. So let me read what self-determination is. So we have in Leander ISD, this is on our website. You can find it if you go to leanderisd.org and go to special programs and then transition. So self-determination is for a student, student's life after high school will be greatly determined by the self-determination skills that they develop. These 9 skills empower all individuals to have a voice in their lives and move to greater independence. Living a self-determined life means being capable and acting that way. I always say I want to have a t-shirt that says that. And so I encourage, well, we send out this self-determination principle per month. And when for every teacher, every therapist, everybody who has any input for students to actually be working on that self-determination principle of the month. And this month, I'm just going to look, is problem solving. Who doesn't need to learn problem solving? So we have this, I call them a poster, and then we have a parent, ideas for the parent. So let me, oh, it's not going to, yeah, it's going to let me. Can you guys see that
Oh,
poster?
yeah.
Okay, great. So then below it is ideas to give to our parents of elementary children and parents of secondary, and as well as teachers and job coaches and IAs, so that they can actually infuse this particular principle. And we also connected it to the 40 developmental assets, which is also something you can Google. And that they say that the more developmental assets you have in your life as an adult or a child, the greater happiness you're going to have. So self-determination, this particular, just a second, I can't figure out how to, I want to go back, but my little tab is in the way. Okay, so how do I make that happen? I'm going to stop sharing that so I can go back and find my little, all the things you learn here.
You know what? It just seems like with the problem solving, it seemed like the school district with the kids who had the grocery store, that was a problem that's solving, and they're taking ownership of their lives more and more, right?
Right.
And also there's a problem right now with food.
Right. Right.
And
I
so,
love it.
that was just an example. So tell us more about, as a parent, because there'll be a lot of parents here, how can, during COVID, and like Tracy was saying, they're all behind screens, and they'll be home.
Right.
We're just going to be home.
Right.
And
So
maybe, yeah, go ahead.
one of the things to caution everyone against is learned helplessness, and that
Yeah.
is the opposite of self-determination. So what our teachers have told me, we sent out a survey, and they said that they are very disappointed with how many families are answering for their child or doing for the child instead of stepping back or giving them choices. So trying to combat learned helplessness is what I give out to you guys. I said that to my head. I'm going to try my hardest to communicate that in every forum that I'm given, is that we've got to help grow these students' independence and their self-determined behaviors. How can we do that? We have to all dig in and remember that we're teaching these souls of ours to go out and live in this world and have the tenacity and grit to do it. So a lot of people will equate self-determination with tenacity and grit. And I believe strongly that using these tools will get you to get the student, get the adult to that life that they're aiming at. Because when they use these components, and believe it or not, Texas wrote it into a law that we have to infuse self-determination inside of everything that we do, because if we're growing learned helplessness, we are not aimed at the right place. So when you want to quickly answer for the person instead of stepping back and waiting or giving choices or letting them fail forward, then you're helping to create a learned helpless person. So talk to yourself about that. I say that with my own son over and over. Is this creating more independence or learned helplessness? And if you click into this website, the Region Center actually did such a nice job of going into the components of self-determination and going into making decisions during adulthood, which I felt like spanned what Judy was asking of me, is looking to how are you going to get them to full independence without the adult having to prompt them? How is it going to be initiated? Okay, yes, Judy, question?
No, yeah, that's the big question, and maybe that, I don't know. I was just thinking about my own upbringing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We made it or not, man,
Right.
and whatever. I don't want to get into that too much, but I think that's one thing that I've learned too is sitting in knowing so many parents over my years of teaching, that the parents that let the kids fail,
Mm-hmm.
and
Absolutely.
not failures, they're not
Right.
failures,
No.
but there was like this, if I'm not going to do it perfectly, I'm not going to do it,
Right.
because I'll get this and that, and that the more that you fail, the more you succeed, is what I would watch. And of course, the kids in my class, in the resource math class, they had all failed their way into my class, which I thought, right, Denise?
Yes.
And then I thought, well, that was like such a gift. It was such a gift to see beyond those grades, see beyond all that, and see within them their strengths, their preferences. What do you see yourself after? They all wanted to be NFL football players,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And so you go, great, totally believe in it, and start treating them like that. But go ahead, keep going.
Okay.
You just make me smile being with you again. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I have Judy's messages come to me daily, or as many times as she sends them, and I'm always commenting, oh, I needed that one today. So she inspires me. Anyway, this timeline for self-determination, I like this part of this particular document in that it tells you from early childhood all the way to adulthood is how we're the timeline for growth of self-determination skills. And as we keep allowing for failing forward, we're helping them grow some. I equate it to like my mom always said when I was growing up, I needed to be exposed to germs because she wanted me to have great immunity. And I do. I'm a very rarely sick person. She believed truly that I should own my mistakes and learn how to grow from them. So I see that in the way that I even approach my own life at this time is that I have to be able to know myself. So that self-awareness and self-knowledge, I believe, is the way to start with everything. But you're heading towards self-efficacy, which they've got that definition right here, is the conviction that one can successfully execute the behavior required to produce a given outcome. They say that we're truly formed when we can have that self-efficacy. And inside of all of that self-efficacy is all these self-determined behaviors. So when I have to look to giving somebody good advice, I think to myself, it's got to come under self-determination, knowing your spin, knowing your strengths, preferences, interests, and needs. And the only other thing I really thought was really important that I could share, I will stop share and try to find it if I have one more moment, is about our personalities. So our personality drives everything. And I work in the area of disability, but when people start to define themselves as their disability, that worries me because I taught the deaf. They did not want to be defined as deaf people. I mean, the deaf, you're deaf. Like, oh, here's my student taught me this. Anisha said, don't, the next thing after my name, don't say I'm deaf. Because people say, oh, Anisha, who's that? Which one is that girl? And instead of saying the girl that's tall and deaf, she said, talk to me, say other stuff like, you know, the student that's involved in student council, she's got yellowish hair. She said, let deafness be further down the description. I've never forgotten that with her. But I also have learned in working in this field of disability that we all have personalities. And we use something called the True Colors, which there it is. Do you guys see that? And True Colors has 4 different colors, and it is basically gold, green, blue, and orange. And the reason the school district likes it, I think Round Rock even uses it, is that it's only 4 colors, and they line up according to your personality. And I always like saying, does everybody on this Zoom have a personality? Absolutely. But does everybody on the Zoom have a disability? Maybe not. But we all have a personality, and our students with disabilities absolutely need to recognize and know that they have a personality, that they have a voice in their life, that they come at life differently from you, from me, but they bring their gifts. So I feel like knowing your personality, whether you use this system or any of Myers-Briggs or the Otter Beaver Retriever one, you're going to find out what your gifts are so that then you can reflect that back to the world through your self-advocacy. So a goal personality, just bottom line, is somebody who's extremely organized, they're attending to their schedules, have lists, they get everything done. They even know where everything is in their house. Orange personalities they live life out loud. They love to have spontaneous things happen, and they make friends super easily, and they try new things quickly, more quickly than a gold. A gold will sit back for a very long time before they try something new. A green personality is somebody who likes the big picture, likes to think on the big picture, likes to ask why a lot, and they aren't satisfied until they have a lot of whys. And their curiosity is vast. I love a green on every team that I'm on because those green personalities will bring in the fact that they'll research something, maybe to death, and you might have to remind them that there's a deadline, but they are awesome on a team because they're thinking on the big picture in the system. And then the blue personality is somebody who's kind, loving, caring, wants to make a difference in the world, is somebody who has the heart of gold, and they'll do anything for you. And they love to talk and they love to listen, and they're heart and soul people. But how these come out is you do a system, a personality, a temperament, and it'll come out. Let's say mine is, I can give you mine. I'm a blue, green, orange, and then gold. So my last color is gold. And that does matter in the fact that I got to work on my attention to detail, timeliness, etc. So those were the key points I wanted to make. Was we all have strengths, interests, preferences, needs. We're self-determined, and we all have a personality.
Wow. There's more to come, right? To be continued. Well, so let's take a deep breath in here. Yeah. And like, whoa, download, like so much is there from the parents' side, and, I love that Tracy works with the parents and from the school teachers and the systems. So let's take a deep breath in here and pull back and what I would like to ask, first of all, I'm watching the clock, and what I would like to ask Tracy first, okay? All right. I know both Tracy and Denise are out there, and they're doing the work. They're the lights. So Tracy, what I would like to ask you in gratitude for you, and your vision-driven mom podcast, what would you like to have us hold for you personally, in that next year? Because, sometimes our light workers, we're holding it for you. What would you love to have us hold for you?
Thank you for asking that, Judy. because you're right. Like we hold for everyone else. And it's nice to be asked, what can I hold for you? So thank you. Um, so going into to 2021, I just, I teach work-life harmony, and really to really experience, and it's always shifting. It's always shifting. Like I said, there's no true balance when, when you're focused over here, you're not focusing over here. So just that feeling like that I'm doing the best for my business, and and I'm reaching the people who need to hear the message. That's huge. That's why I started the podcast, because I know that there are, especially right now, there are moms out there who are struggling. There are families who are struggling, and they need to hear that message of hope and possibility. So that is that my podcast just reaches the people who need to hear it. And then in my own home and my own life, that we are continue to stay in harmony, and that example. And Denise, that was exactly, you were exactly what I needed to hear. I mean, this all happened like within the past couple days, and actually maybe even since Judy and I connected this week. But that I'm able to continue to keep that harmony. Apparently I had something had dropped, right? Something had dropped, and just to keep that harmony going. And really, I mean, it starts in my heart and in my mind. Like that's
All
where it
right.
starts. So yeah,
Okay,
holding that the message is heard, that there's hope.
okay, you got it. Okay, paradigm shifters. Here we go. Here's what we do.
Thank
You
you.
got this. Okay, and we're sending this to North Carolina and Tracy, and we go whoosh, and so it is.
And so it is.
So
Thank
it is.
you.
So we see you as so, and we so appreciate you and all the work you're doing in the world. Okay.
Thank you.
Denise, what would you love? You got an endless menu here, and this is what would you love for your family, for you personally, where we can, as paradigm shifter, we can keep our light workers out there afloat. What would you love? Christmas.
I know that was really kind of you to ask. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that.
Oh, sounds
I
like
mean,
a
really.
transition question, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It sounds like a really good question.
What would you love, Denise?
I would say that daily I ask God for the ability to listen with wisdom to what's being told to me, but then me having the energy to know what to respond with, as well as to give of my heart. So I ask that every day, basically. So it's what I would like.
Aw. Well, you got it. You ready, you guys? All the way to Leander, Texas.
Okay, now I'm gonna.
And then I would like this and the portion. There you go. Ready? Wish.
Ready?
All right. Yay.
Thank you.
Well,
I appreciate
yeah.
it.
Well, so much. And I'm going to make this into a YouTube video, and it's going to go out all over. You can get it. You can send it. And if you know anyone who really needs to hear this message, send them the link. And we so appreciate you. And let's put a blessing on this second week of December 2020 and all the blessings that we've received this year, because we've had to be self-determined, because we choose to stay alive and be present for our kids and each other. Yes, and so grateful for this whole community. And until next week, dream big, dream bold, accomplish brilliantly. Remember, we can't go back and start a new beginning, but we can start right now and have a brand new ending. Amen. Okay.